Hello and welcome. I hope that you're all doing well. In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about the Node Package Manager in order to better understand the sort of things that we could do in terms of installing new packages through Node in order to be able to extend the functionality of the server application. So at this point here now, you should have a pretty good handle on what Node relatively is and how it generally works, right? So you can see that it's a server that is written using JavaScript that allows us to be able to interact with our JavaScript backend in a server type format where we make a request to a specific endpoint, and that specific endpoint gives us something back. Now, in order to extend that content further, what Node does is it enables this functionality called NPM, or Node Package Manager. And what that lets us do is it lets us install various different packages that we are able to extend the functionality of Node.js with. One of those particular packages is one that we're going to focus on, which is known as Express. Express is a way of being able to simply implement API functionality in your server. So we'll talk a bit more about what APIs really are, and I'll give you a little bit of an oversight to that and introduce the idea of Express, and then we'll show how to install it through NPM. So generally what an API is it's an interface that you can interact with for a web server. What it does is it allows you to send a request to the server, and then the server will take some action based on the request and return back some result to you. Now, generally, there are four main requests that we would see in an API, and those are a GET request, which is meant to retrieve data from the server. There's a POST request, which is meant to send data to the server for it to save or utilize in some way. There's a PUT request, which is to update data on a server. And then there is a delete request, which is to delete data from a server. So those are the main four ones that we typically see in an API, specifically in what's called a RESTful API, which is the type of API that I'm going to focus on as we're discussing this. So it's with those four main methods that we're able to interact with our server and be able to take different actions with it. So typically an API will be used with a database. So we could send data up through the API and interact with a database and then returns data back to the user. That's the usual flow of the API logic. Now, of course, we don't have any database set up right now, so we're just going to introduce the APIs and show how the general functionality works. And then as we continue on, we'll introduce the ideas of databases, and you'll be able to integrate that into your web applications as well. So that's the general idea of Express and the general idea of APIs. So Express really is just a framework that allows you to implement API functionality. It does it in a very simple and straightforward manner, and we will talk about that a fair bit as we continue on through the next section of these videos. So that's one of the main things that Node is typically used for, actually, is to implement APIs specifically through Express. That's a very common use case for Node.js. So then the question is, how do we install Express? And the answer is you don't have to do any sort of additional work to download anything for Express. What you can do is you can just use the Node Package Manager. So let me see if I can just clear my screen here. And what I'm going to do is inside of the directory of my program, I'm going to type in npm I express. NPM is Node Package Manager, as I mentioned. It's basically a repository of different packages that are written for Node, and you can install them using the I command, as I see here. Node npm I means npm install, and then express is the package that we want to install. So this will install the Express package into this project. And you'll see that it will think for a few minutes, and then it will be done. So now Express is installed into our package, and we're able to use Express in our actual application. It's as simple as that. So that's a really nice way to be able to manage packages. And there's a lot of different things that you can do with NPM, right? You can update packages, you can remove packages, you can look for vulnerabilities in packages. We're not really going to discuss those in too much detail. I'll just bring those to your awareness that they do exist. And that's something that you can look into if you are interested. For now, I just wanted to show you what NPM was and how we can install the Express package. So thank you for watching this video, and in the next video, we're going to take a look at how we can start to work with Express and how we can implement APIs in our project.